is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks. With an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.
There I am. Well, hello, everybody. Good old BMR in the house. Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Welcome to another 9 o'clock in the East show of Beyond BMR. Got a fantastic couple guys from Alabama talking some paranormal, some investigations. And I got them last minute. So right off the top of my head, thanks to them. Thanks to everybody for coming in today. Of course, if you're new here to the channel, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. Of course, my co-host back in Studio B, I'm going to bring up in a minute, Krista from the Blondes and the Blues Paranormal Podcast. Subscribe to her on YouTube, and the lovely Brandy. Tex from Texas Front Porch. Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World on YouTube. Donnie Cho Says Stuff, Paranormal Paul. Thank you, Joe Two Pops, for that awesome donation to get the show started. I appreciate you. Thank you. That's right, everybody. The Super Chat's open. It's a great way to help support what we do around here. Also, you can become a BMR pirate. You can be a pirate, everybody. Join today. Join the many. Join the few. Depends on your point of view, of course. You get a picture of me with a bandana next to your name in the chat room, and a couple other special membership things I'm going to start doing here shortly. So thanks for that. You can find us wherever podcasts are found, including Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts. That's where we're on those all the time. Make sure you turn on your alert bells for all of our YouTube shows, because we're on 7 days a week throughout the week. You don't want to miss a single show. With that being said, I'm going to bring up the lovely Krista. Oh, you know what? One other quick thing. I've had that day. I've been 8 hours on cable internet phone, so I forgot a couple things. I'm a little discombobulated today, you guys. I want to thank everybody out there that has bought my my books, of course, so you can find on Amazon. Bigfoot Michigan Rob presents True Cryptid Encounters Book 1 and Book 2, released at the end of the summer. All you need to do is type Bigfoot Michigan Rob in your Amazon browser. Please leave a review if you bought it. Thank you ever so much for that. Leaving a review, much like analytics on YouTube, does help promote sales, just like your thumbs up on YouTube and leaving a comment afterwards. Now I can bring up the lovely Krista.
Hey.
Hi, Krista. How are you?
I'm doing better than you are.
Man, you've never seen me frazzled, I don't think. We were back.
When you called me today, you were frazzled.
I have still been frazzled, and then so far so good. The internet's working, but I must tell you, I went entirely wireless in the house. All the TVs, the computer, everything, because my cable company no longer provides cable.
Mm-hmm.
So I upgraded to 1 gig of internet speed, which should, Rob will cover everything. Spinning wheels on both TVs, spinning wheels on the internet. And I powered down half of the things. I made sure that everybody in the house was not on the internet during the show.
Right.
So I'm going to cancel. They told me it was free installation. Then they popped me for $209, which pulled up out of my bank account. I'm like, where's this from? Oh, we forgot to tell you, Rob. So
yeah,
I signed up with Xfinity. I'm gonna have the
Okay.
internet and the cable through them, and I'm gonna have to pay the piper and pay for all of the cancellation fees. So they're gonna come in Friday, and I gotta do it all over again. All
Good
over.
grief. That's crazy.
But
Crazy,
enough of
crazy.
my grief.
Well, I've
Enough of my
been,
grief,
you know, dealing with Eventbrite too, as you know,
I do know.
with our conference. So
Yes, you know.
yeah, somebody
And
tried to troll us on
yeah,
Eventbrite.
someone tried to tap into that from what I understand.
They did, but they did not succeed. So
And we'll talk. Well, while we tell a little, I can't read it. I'm gonna pull up. I don't have the newest flyer that does not have Martin Groves. If you want to
hold
tell
on.
our fine folks what's going on with that, go right ahead, Krista.
Okay, so we have the Crossing Realms Conference, September 19th and 20th in Richmond, Missouri. And we have a whole list of speakers. You guys, I'm sure, are tired of hearing about who's coming. It's everybody and their brother pretty much is coming to our conference. And either they're a speaker or a special guest, or we're putting it on. So yeah, tickets are on Eventbrite. And just let everybody know that there is only one Eventbrite link that we use. I have pinned it up in on Blondes and Booze. Gary Spikes, his is correct. Just in case somebody tries to troll us and puts a fake one out there, just make sure it is through, like somebody that you guys know, either myself, Rob, like Gary, somebody like that that's out there, or one of the speakers sharing it, something like that, because we were trolled and they really, really tried to get into our Eventbrite, and they were unsuccessful twice, not once, but twice. They tried yesterday and they tried again today. And with Eventbrite's help, like it's been totally, they've been great. I can't say anything bad about Eventbrite because they've totally helped us. But yeah, so anyway, moving on. And here's the thing though, Rob, I don't even understand why a troll would want on our Eventbrite.
I don't know. I mean,
money, like seriously, like when you guys have bought tickets, that money is not even made available until 5 days after the conference for us to pay our bills. And like we don't have copies of your credit cards or debit cards or anything like that. So I don't know what it benefits a troll except to be a troll. So that's all we'll say about that.
People in the nefarious ways, Krista, there's always somebody out there. Again, we all experience it with our own personal lives, with banks, with our internet. It's just the way of the world. There's more crooks out there, I think, than hardworking Americans.
Yeah, and that's a shame.
And Canadians, by the way. I believe Joe is from Canada. Thank you for your Canadian dollars. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
So with that said, I got two great guests coming on from Alabama, the Mobile Area Paranormal Society. And I think I read this right. I think both their names are Josh and Josh. I'm uncertain. So enough of that. I'm going to bring them both up.
Awesome.
Yeah, it does say Josh Wilson and Josh Savell.
Hey,
what's up, guys?
What's going on?
Man, I tell you what, you guys met me for the first time throwing a little small little tantrum. That's unlike me, but man, you guys, 8 hours all day long. I got up at 6 a.m. It's been nothing but a nightmare, and I'm just going to leave it at that because it's not about good old BMR's, problems today. I just had events, and I'm starting to feel good. The blood's flowing. I can't wait for this show. For everybody listening, and for both you guys, I want everybody to know that their bios, their descriptions, their links for everything they do is listed in the description of the show. They've got a YouTube channel, they've got a website, and they do
actually
a bunch of other
I've
things.
I've been sharing it under you, and I'll drop it again right now.
Yeah, very good. So I appreciate that. So we got the advertising out of the way. We got my little tirade out of the way. So welcome to the show, gentlemen. Thank you on last minute because I did have a cancellation from Crystal, and Carol. And hey, that's fine. I rescheduled them for the summertime. They'll be back on. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves to our audience and give us a little background what you guys do out there in Alabama.
All right. Well, I'm Josh Lavelle. I go by Lavelle. That's Josh Wilson. He goes by Wilson. We're co-workers. We both work for the sheriff's office at our county jail. We started MAPS back in started talking about it in 2020. And then a little bit later on, we actually started doing investigations.
What started you guys into the paranormal? Was it like things that you guys had seen, or you just one had an encounter and told the other, or how did that happen?
Well, we both kind of grown up with, our own personal encounters with the paranormal. And it just so happened that, one day we were working together, we started, talking about stuff like that. We usually just go through all kinds of topics, especially when we're on night shift.
Yeah.
Try to stay awake. And really, both of us had a really strong interest in the paranormal and ghost hunting. So we decided a little while later to, kind of go around and see what areas in our city are good for kind of doing a little ghost hunting, get our feet wet. And we live in Mobile, Alabama, which is a very old city on the Gulf Coast. There's a lot of history there, and there's a lot of different energies in a lot of the historic buildings. Yeah,
I can only imagine. I have to know, is the jail haunted where you guys work?
Oh, most definitely.
Very good. Right up Krista's alley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's been it's been reported by coworkers and that there's a little bit of something going on in a couple places there.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Why do you think that is, though? Why do you think like people want to? I personally wouldn't want to hang out at a jail if I was a ghost, but Well,
it's not so much what they want to do as opposed to kind of like in a jail setting, I wouldn't say they're chained down, but they're kind of stuck in certain areas.
Right. So could it be more, like a residual haunting?
Yeah, there's different classes of hauntings. You have residual hauntings, you have intelligent hauntings. There's all kinds of different stuff that you could have. The residual stuff usually is more of like a kind of psychic energy that's kind of recorded into the environment or the building itself, or maybe even if there's a lot of quartz in the ground, it may be recorded into that. It's kind of like having a tape that plays back. You can't necessarily communicate with it, but you can actually see what goes on.
Sure.
Well, like in a jail setting too, there's a lot of people out there that they actually feel at home in jail. They will get out of jail, do anything they can, come right back. That's where you have them frequent flyers.
Yeah,
I was going to say some of these people, that's probably the only meals and only showers, I guess really that.
Yeah. A lot of times, it's a lot of the homeless population that really have no other place to go and they don't want to be in soup kitchens and stuff like that. But there's also people that we call them state raised, where they basically spend their whole life in jail and that's really all they know. It's kind of like the people that you see in those movies like The Shawshank Redemption, where Red's been in so long that he doesn't know how to,
function outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys, okay, we'll walk through a few things here. You can take it wherever you want. Would you like to start with? Okay, let's go personally with either one of the two Joshes, Savell and Wilson. In your lifetime, what have you come across in your lifetime that have you come across any ghosts in your lifetime, paranormal activities prior to starting your society?
Yeah, like probably back in 2003 was like not my first time, but like the most pronounced time. I had just met my ex-wife. I was married for 18 years, but I had just met her, moved in with her, and the house that we were living in had all the telltale signs. Like I'd get woken up in the middle of the night. She'd be waking me up talking about, hey, there's somebody in the kitchen. There's somebody in the kitchen. You'd hear somebody walking around in the kitchen. You'd hear cabinets opening and shutting. You'd be sitting there in the middle of the night trying to sleep, and then you look up, your bedroom door's opening, shutting, and it's like you'd see just like lights coming down the hallway. There ain't no windows that even would reflect down the hallway. So it was like, at that time, I was like really, really starting to get into it. And that was really before like anything mainstream had hit like TV. So it was kind of hard to, I guess, figure out how to investigate something like that. Cause I think the only thing that would even have been on at that time is Most Haunted in England. I think they were the earliest ones to have like a TV show like that. But after I moved out, my ex's brother actually moved in, and he had a bunch of experiences in there too. So we pretty much came to the conclusion that the place is haunted, and I'd love to go back one day, but there's somebody living there now, and I just don't want to go up to them. Hey, can I investigate your house?
Yep.
What about you, Josh? Anything disturbing or paranormal?
Yeah, I've had run-ins with the paranormal kind of throughout my life. It kind of started for me when I was real little at my grandparents' house. We used to live in a place called Tifton, Georgia. It's real out in the country. Their house was very old even when they bought it back in the I guess 60s or 70s. And when I used to stay over there, I would just see things moving around in the middle of the night and weird noises, little floating, red lights and stuff like that. And that always kind of piqued my interest and scared the hell out of me, when I was a little kid. But as I got older, and started moving around the country, my dad was in the Navy, and we kind of moved all over the place, lived in Japan for a little while. But I would start, kind of picking up on things that were out of place from what you would normally see. And when I was in high school, a couple of friends and I used to sneak out to little abandoned buildings and stuff like that, mental health facilities and stuff, just kind of looking around and seeing what we could find. We'd catch orbs on digital cameras and stuff like that. It wasn't anything real serious, but after that, I started getting into watching ghost hunters, which is really the first time, this kind of thing was mainstream. Before that in the 70s, you'd had like, the Warrens doing stuff like that, but that wasn't really mainstream popular.
Sure.
But, we started doing that, I started, looking into stuff like that. And I would go on camping trips when I was in the Boy Scouts. And we would go to places like a local park called Blakely State Park. It's a Civil War battlefield that's around Mobile. And we would see stuff around there, especially around the graveyards. And there was even a time when we went to sleep over at this World War II battleship called the USS Alabama. And that is where I saw the most activity when I was real young. There were shadow men running around, folding chairs would just fold up and fall over across the room and stuff like that. It's weird stuff. I didn't know what to make of it.
Krista here, along with Brandy, they've got like 10 years. They've been investigating the paranormal and ghosts and such, ghost hunters, if you will.
18 years.
I always say a decade because I don't want to make you older than the 29 that you are, because people will think you're a ghost, right? So
pretty close to it.
So she does investigation. So do you go out in the field do you help other families if they come across poltergeists or ghosts? Do you literally go help them and let them know that they're not going crazy and try to figure out what's going on at some of their properties?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, like with me, I like investigating the residential stuff more than I do like the mainstream places because
Me too. I'm with
Yeah.
you.
they're the ones that give you the most surprises and like a lot of good evidence. I mean, I like helping people too, and it's like if you can help ease somebody's mind, because like I know, like in my situation, I didn't have nobody to turn to, and I'm sitting there like, am I really hearing this? Is this really happening? Am I seeing this? And that was part of the reason we even started the group, was for people would actually have an option to be able to contact somebody in case something like that ever happens to them. And we frequently go on residential cases.
Good.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, especially with a residential case and you know, trying to ease somebody's mind, the first thing that we want to do is we're not out there to necessarily prove the existence of,
Right.
you know, the paranormal.
Mhm.
Primarily, when we first get there, we're trying to debunk every single thing that they have. If they're talking
Yep.
about creaks, they're talking about weird noises, feelings on the back of their neck, stuff like that. We try to find logical explanations for that first. And if we can't debunk it that way, then, you know, logically, the only thing left is the paranormal.
No, wholeheartedly agree. I'm with you on. I like doing the private cases myself, and we also do. Brandy and I are new members of a team that we rejoined with some friends, but we do a lot of events at haunted locations too, for like historical preservation and, you know, things like that. We don't pocket the money ourselves, or, you know, it's all goes back to that location. So those are the only two things I really like doing. My partner Brandy, she goes to all these big locations. She's been to Conjuring, she's been everywhere, and she likes that part of it. But you know, I like keeping it low key. And my thing is, you know, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I don't want to go out and look for ghosts for fun. That's not fun for me. It's, you know, I got into this to help people. So, you know, do you guys enjoy doing it like for fun, like going to some of these locations, or, you know, what is your thoughts?
Well, I'm intrigued by the investigation process of it. I mean, it kind of falls in line with what we do for work anyhow. So I like analyzing the evidence and stuff, seeing what all we can catch.
Yeah, the thing about it is, you know, if you go into it kind of looking for ghosts, you're automatically on a mental level, you know, trying to prepared to see things, and that kind of gives you a bias towards the stuff that you find.
Oh yeah.
So we really tried not to go in, you know, necessarily looking for the paranormal. But if we find it, you know, so be it.
Sure.
And you were talking about doing the historical reservation stuff. We actually help Crystal and Carol out a lot when they do theirs. Like we was talking about Blakely State Park. As a matter of fact, they've got an event coming up March 15th at Blakely that we're helping them out with, along with Sean Daniels, Misty Gaither, and a couple other people.
Yeah, and we've actually had a lot of, you know, legitimate activity at Blakely the two prior times we've helped them out at the public events.
Cool. Very cool.
And for those that don't know, Blakely State Park is like one of the last major battles that they had in the Civil War. It's like Alabama itself, really right. You always hear about Gettysburg and all that, but like a lot of stuff happened in Mobile and Baldwin counties. Like you've got Fort Morgan, you got Fort Gaines, that's on Dauphin Island. If you've ever heard the expression, damn the torpedoes full speed ahead, that came from the Battle of Mobile Bay.
Yep.
So when Admiral Farragut ended up taking over, taking both forts.
What kind of activity have you guys gotten with being Civil War battlegrounds? Because, you know, I'm in Missouri and we have several, you know, battlefields too. And there's one in particular I've investigated, and we've gotten some really cool stuff. But I think it's residential because it's cannon fire and things like that. What about you guys? What kind of stuff do you guys get? Because I'm all about the history.
I know we have like a lot of ITC interactions. Like we'll have like a bunch of K2
Cool.
activation on command. Like what? And it's like the last time we were out there, we've got our other member, Devin, that couldn't make it tonight, but him, and Sean Daniels actually had like a whole little session going on with REM pods, K2s, and everything going off, all
And
reacting. Flashlights too, all reacting to this 1800s music that we was playing.
And a couple of times, especially the first time we went to Blakely with the Ghost Hunting Housewives, we actually had a pretty strange interaction with what could be classified as, you know, Civil War era entities with a REM pod and a mini mag light. I'm not sure if you're familiar with how to communicate with entities with mag light, but we were getting, you know, directed answers to questions and stuff like that.
Very cool. Very cool. I just think, you know, like battlefields, how can they not be haunted? You know,
Right?
Yeah, I know. We always have like we catch a lot of EVPs over at Fort Gaines, and at Blakely too. I mean, even Blakely has got part of it's like a battlefield, but there's the other half of it used to be a town there, like before the Civil War, that a bunch of the people ended up getting sick from disease and dying out, and they ended up having to move on out, spread out.
Right.
So we catch like a lot of EVPs at that place.
Yeah, it's very rare that you actually find something intelligent that you can communicate with, but we do find a lot of, you know, kind of discombobulated EVPs that you can almost cite to the era because they talk about things and places and people that were in that time.
And accents, they'll have like real strong accents.
Very cool.
So let me ask you, you've been on your investigations. What can you have a couple of accounts that you can directly speak on where when you went, you definitely thought there was something going on, some paranormal activity, some energy, or perhaps have you even seen any spirits or anything out of the ordinary? Because, you know, the audience has like a nice little story about your events. If you want to unfold an event for us,
Josh, why don't you start us off and tell them about the shotgun house in Mississippi?
Okay, so this was our first residential case, and it was over at a house in Mississippi. I'm not going to say where for obvious reasons, but we were called to come in and investigate. Ended up investigating another house that was over there that we really wasn't. I'm not going to say supposed to, but the person did. That wasn't the house that the person ended up wanting us to originally come out there and investigate.
Yeah, originally they wanted us to investigate a really old, maybe 110-year-old shotgun house. It's a real small house. That to the
excuse me for being dumb. What's a shotgun house?
A shotgun house is basically it's a house that is designed to where the rooms are all in a row, where if you look from the front door to the back door, you can see through all the rooms of the house.
Oh, okay. Well,
so you'd call it a shotgun house because you can fire a shotgun from the front to the back.
Yeah.
Well,
and it wouldn't.
I don't know if I'd want a house quite like. I mean, that's okay. Yeah,
it's kind of an old way of building houses.
Yeah, I guess. Okay,
but yeah, the house adjacent to that was the house that the family was actually living in, and it was not really a 2-story house, but it was a house that had a very large attic that it was big enough where you could have lived in it. And I believe they had an adopted daughter who was deaf or hard of hearing or had some kind of mental disabilities. And when we were investigating the shotgun house, they started telling us about how she was communicating to them that she was scared of somebody that was essentially, according to her, living in her closet, like a shadow man. So we started investigating that, and I think we came back at least twice.
Yeah, well, we came back one other time. but it was like the entity that we was dealing with there was real territorial, quick to let us know that was its area, that was its house. I went up there, and like I said, this was like our first little residential case that we had, and I went up there pulling like a Zach Bagans, talking all kind of trash. And I'm sitting there. We have a lady that collaborates with us sometimes. She's an author named Monica Bullock, and she was with us, and she points K2 over towards me, and it's lighting up like a Christmas tree after I did all that. And then it got real quiet for a second, and then all of a sudden it felt like, I don't know if anybody's had like any older brothers or siblings or whatever, but like if somebody was to take like a metal coat hanger, light it with a lighter and let the flame sit on it for just a second, and then just rub it across your skin a couple times, I started feeling that. And sure enough, as soon as we went and looked, there was a couple marks on my stomach or whatever. And I was like, well, that was a good learning experience. From that point on, I've always been respectful since.
Yeah, it's never a good idea to antagonize whatever it is that you're.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, well, it's not. In fact, a friend of ours, Tex, you met him a little earlier today. He was antagonizing something. I forgot where he was, Krista. You probably remember better than I do. And when Bob was with them, so he went and he got himself in a closet, and there's supposed to be some demon named Dan. I don't know it. I forget. It's a while ago when he was telling us this. And he says, "Come on," and he's antagonizing. And Tex is a big guy. And he actually showed the video where he's stuffed inside this darkened closet, and he's antagonizing this alleged demon or whatever. So I guess a little later, they're all playing cards and they're playing poker with the alleged devil or demon was at the table. And I guess he got kind of mad at Tex's attitude, being kind of being a protagonist or whatever you want to call it. And his buddy Bob ended up getting scratches almost in the shape of a pentagon on his backside. Immediately.
It was the Hell House there.
The Hell House. Okay. Thanks, Krista. And he literally got some physical impressions. It took pictures immediately. He felt the heat. He felt sickly and felt something on his back. And sure enough, you guys, it was an impression. I say pentagon or a star. It looks like that. Who knows what it was, to be honest. But it was kind of after this repeated, with Texas kinds of call this thing out. And so his buddy got the negative energy directed toward him and got the marks on his body.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's like when that happened to me. We've actually on an audio recorder called after I went on my little tirade or whatever. Yeah, it ended up catching. Yeah, that's him. And then like 2 seconds later, here he goes feeling the pain. So.
Yeah, and it's not just physical contact like scratches and stuff like that, because when we were initially investigating the shotgun house, we did a preliminary sweep with K2s and making sure the doors and frames weren't shifting weirdly and stuff like that, just kind of doing an initial debunk. But the weird thing about that house is when you're looking in the front door, if you're standing on the steps looking into the house at the front door, you just get this weird vibe, this energy. It almost feels like, it's trying to make your stomach sick, almost like vertigo. It's strange. It is really strange.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel that in places that are supposed to have, very high activity.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys, you talked earlier about the one location allegedly had the shadow people. I've seen shadow people now, literally. Did you guys happen to come across the shadow person or people when you did your investigation?
Well, I was talking about the shadow people at the USS Alabama, and that's back when I was a Boy Scout. I was maybe 14 or 15, and we didn't really do any investigating into that, but it's that place, the USS Alabama, is pretty hard to get access to.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, in your investigations you've done, have you come across anything in the field? Have you seen a ghost? Have you seen a shadow person? If you haven't, that's cool. I don't want you to make up anything, but have you seen anything that we're like, wow, these people got something going on here?
I've actually seen one doing scouting a house for somebody that contacted us, but I've also earlier in the year I actually went to the University of Alabama's first football game last season, and on my way back down, I stopped by what was once the old Coffee County Jail, and I went in with a video camera and was just walking around, and actually ended up catching something peeking around the corner at me, and I do have that on video somewhere. I know it's on our Facebook page.
Sure.
Yeah, me personally, I've never seen a physical manifestation, shadow people or actual, full apparitions or anything like that. But the Mississippi investigation that we were talking about, the thing about that is what the girl was describing that was in her closet actually matches up with a pretty common shadow person that a lot of people see called the Hat Man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. True story.
But me personally, I've never actually experienced that yet. Hopefully one day. I don't know.
Be careful what you wish for.
That'd be kind of scary. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd really want to.
Wish for.
Well, other than that, the only thing that I've visually been able to see, besides maybe something moving, is I've actually seen where in a house that looked like, the only way I could describe it is if somebody threw glitter up in the air, and it would shoot from one side of the room to the other. And
like a shimmer.
Like a shimmer. And I sat in this room and watched it for probably about 10, 15 minutes, do it straight time, the whole time. But other than that, most of the stuff that we're normally seeing is maybe something on a SLS camera or K2 hits. But we're not just going to take one piece of evidence. If we're just getting K2 hits, we're not just, you got something here.
Sure.
We've got to have something like K2 hits, maybe catch an EVP with it, temperature fluctuations with it. We just don't take one piece of evidence for solid proof.
Right.
But
we do take the evidence in. If we have sufficient evidence to escalate, our investigation, then we go forward with, other techniques and stuff like that. Because we use, like I said, we use the Maglite method to communicate with any spirits that may be around. Sometimes we use the K2 to do the same thing because they may be able to communicate by activating the lights on the K2 at will, or sometimes even we'll use the REM pods. If an entity can reach out and touch the REM pod, it'll go off and make noise.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of know the answer to this question because of Krista, my lovely Krista. She schools me on a lot of these things. What evidence to you would be substantiated or substantial on your? I always ask this again. I kind of have a good idea about it now, but with your equipment, whatever equipment that you use, and they're going off, sometimes it could be maybe it's not paranormal or supernatural at all. What is the determining factor where you say to yourselves, yeah, there's some other energy lurking in this location, where in your mind that is an event occurring during an investigation?
Well, like I was saying just a minute ago, if you have multiple pieces of evidence that correlate with each other, that is a telltale sign. Like, it's easy to rule out like a bunch of stuff before you even get started. Like if you got a K2 and you're going around and you've actually got your phone on you, if your phone's not in airplane mode or whatever, it's going to set your K2 off. And if nobody knows better, or if somebody's just starting out doing all this, then they're real quick to say, hey, there's something here, there's something here, there's something here. But like the whole time your phone's actually setting your equipment off. So you just have to be precautious on how you're doing your investigation and trying to control the actual area itself, as in like, I guess how much sound could be affecting like your microphones and camera, any outside interference, weather conditions.
Mm-hmm.
You really want to control the environment that you can actually do baselines off of, and then come back through and start doing your investigations, comparing it to your baselines.
Yeah, and I mean, you could have doors opening in your house because, an 18-wheeler rolled over a road, 2 streets away and kind of,
Vibrating.
Right? It could be a lot of things, but you kind of have to systematically rule those things out. And then what you're left with is something that you can tangibly investigate. Kind of like, for example, what we found sometimes is if we're in areas where you kind of feel like a cold spot, because one of your best tools is your body, because you can kind of feel hot and cold. You can feel kind of some low level electromagnetic forces. That's where you get the feeling on the back of your neck, the feeling like you're getting watched, and stuff like that. And if you can follow a cold spot around an area, like through rooms of a house, and your K2 meter, your EMF meter, is showing a consistent level of electromagnetic activity as you're following it around, that kind of lends to the fact that there is something here.
Chris, so really quickly, I'm getting a little lag. You guys can't tell, but it's showing up on my computer. I got to see all my make sure the other devices on the internet are off. So I'll be back in 2 seconds, and you can.
You're good.
I got to see what's going on. Hang on. Thanks.
Good. Go ahead. Yeah. Whenever we do like private cases, we do the same. We call it a walkthrough, and check for EMF, because like EMF, that can make people like even hallucinate. Like they really do see these things, but it's not really there. It's, there's reasonable explanation. So I appreciate that fact that you guys do go out and don't go in and say that, oh, this place is haunted. You're not there looking for a ghost,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we pretty much know like what areas inside a house would probably set off like a K2, like, around the fuse box is going to set it off. Mm-hmm. But actually, like the last residential place I went to that Wilson wasn't available for, but me and our other member Devin went to, the doorbell put off an ungodly amount of EMF. I mean, and that's checking it with a digital meter and the K2. I mean, it topped the digital meter out, and it's like that's where they were seeing most of their apparitions was in that little area right there.
Yep. And there's also stuff like, in a lot of older buildings, you may have electrical wires that are run through the floor of like, your second floors. Like, for example, there's an old hotel in Mobile called the Malaga Inn. It was built from 2 houses that were built for 2 sisters by 2 suitors back in the day. And the room that we were investigating, room 007, which was the room that the owner of the actual hotel lived and died in, if you use your K2 anywhere below waist level, it tops out the entire time, because their power cables and some other kind of cables run throughout the entire floor of that second floor. And
the elevator's right next door to the room.
That too, yeah. And there's a lot of cabling in the elevator. So it just it hits constantly in there.
Yep, I understand the same too. We our home base is out of the Ray County Museum, which is over in Richmond, Missouri. And the second floor there too, if you put, a K2 down on the floor, it's pegging, but it's because all those wires that, go through. under there. So, yep, I can totally relate to that. And that's pretty common too. And a lot of people don't understand too, you know, even like electronics, like your phones, you know, whenever we hold events, we always tell people, you know, put your phone on airplane mode because, you know, all that stuff can mess with things, you know, so you definitely don't want false positives.
Yep. It's just like back in the day, if you had a cell phone and it was getting signal and you were near an electronic device, you would get that dit.
Yep.
You know, it would be audible. You could hear it. Nowadays, you know, not much, but it's still there.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Is there a one time that you guys could talk about that like really, really scared you? Like what, like you were like, oh, wow, you know, this is some scary stuff.
I don't get, well, I guess because our work environment, like this kind of stuff don't scare me.
Yeah, I could see that.
So, I mean, the only time I've really been kind of on the edge is like when I did get scratched. And the only reason that was because it just caught me off guard. And I'm like,
Sure.
Did that just happen?
Right. Totally understand.
I mean, the only thing that would really scare me now is probably, you know, walking around by myself in the woods when you got a lot of activity going on. And that just comes from me, you know, when I was little, I was afraid of the dark and stuff like that. Not so much the dark itself, but what, you know, you would perceive as in the dark. Right. But, you know, I remember the first time we went to Blakely, there was a trail that was set out from the main area that goes out on this dock in the woods, and it goes out to a lake and loops back around to a trail. And there were stands with LED lights that were set periodically throughout the trail. And by the time we got done with the whole session, those lights had gone out and somebody had to go back and retrieve them. So I was basically walking through the woods by myself with just a dinky little flashlight trying to find these things, and you know, all kinds of stuff going on. We had just got done, you know, doing some SD sessions with spirit boxes and all kind of stuff like that. So that was, you know, kind of in my head while I was walking around in there. It just kind of had me on edge the whole time. But other than that, when we're actually doing investigations, I'm not really.
You know what? I just have to throw this out there. I tell you guys, you know, Rob and I, we both know several people in Alabama, and you guys got Bigfoot and all kinds of stuff down there too. You're talking about being in the woods. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like cryptids. I was actually born in Paris Island in South Carolina in the 80s. So like the whole time the lizard man and swamp was going on, I heard about it firsthand. So
good deal.
So yeah, I found out what the lag was. Again, I can't wait till Friday. BMR always with the issues, but regardless of that, it's all working better on my end. Yeah, do you think that if you guys come across any cryptids in your investigations out in the woods?
Well, we haven't really done a whole lot of investigations in the woods besides Blakely, I would believe. And when we're out in Blakely, usually we have pretty large groups around there with us, so I never really had any experiences with any kind of, you know, cryptid like evidence yet.
Right.
Josh Savell, about yourself, have you come across anything?
Not Mobile. I mean, I've read like a couple of stories. Like there's one I think that happened back in the 70s in Mobile. Was like the werewolf woman of Mobile. And
oh yeah, that was a weird picture.
Yeah, the newspaper ended up drawing a picture about it, and it was an artist's rendition. Yeah, but it supposedly was spotted for like a few days and then just disappeared. Other than that, the only thing that I've heard of from being down here is the Alabama white thing, which is pretty much a Yeti / Bigfoot.
Oh, and there's also the Gulf Breeze incident. It's more of an alien thing. Yeah.
Well, I will say this. I've done several shows with people. Dog Men Bigfoot is in Alabama along with the paranormal. In fact, I had some people were telling me that there's the alien connection. They're all looking for ghosts, much like you guys are doing an investigation. Nothing really paranormal has come about. Then they'd see the orbs dancing about. Then they'd see like a werewolf entity appear or a Bigfoot. So I will just say for you guys, yes. Well, in fact, these cryptids in all of our states in North America and Canada and everywhere else, every other country. Don't be surprised if you come across one because they're there. And I have to ask you, reverting back to your investigations, you guys get a little bit. What do you do as far as you're going on an investigation in the paranormal? What do you do to protect yourselves from getting an attachment or bringing something into your home?
Really, with that kind of thing, it's more of a being mentally prepared. You know, whether you're religious or not, you know, it's a lot of this stuff has the potential to latch on to you, whether spiritually or mentally, psychologically. So what we try to do is just kind of have a positive attitude going into it. We may, have like a little small prayer circle with some of the other ghost hunting groups. And towards the end of the session, especially if we do believe we've encountered some sort of entities, we make it known to them out loud that they're not allowed to, that they don't have permission to follow us home.
Okay.
It's almost like ending a seance or like a Ouija session. You have to, you can't just leave it open. You have to close it.
Yeah. What are your guys' feelings on Ouija boards?
Don't touch
We
it.
don't use them.
No.
Come on.
No.
I don't
That's
blame
definitely taboo.
Don't blame you. You made a good point. If you use it, you better know how to close it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's like there's some stuff like a lot of groups use that we just don't. We really don't use like any kind of phone apps or anything like that.
Yeah, phone apps are garbage. They don't work.
I agree. Yep.
And
I agree.
it's like if like 90% of the, or actually about 99% of the EVPs we catch are coming straight off a voice recorder or the video camera that we're using to record with. It's like we will use like a portal box, but like if we're using it, we're letting you know we're using it.
Mm-hmm.
So we like our evidence to be I guess old school.
Sure, absolutely. I agree with you on the apps. I mean, we have our phones with us all the time, and how many times do we talk about, I need to go to Walmart. Next thing you know, you see a bunch of ads for Walmart. So your phone listens to everything that you say or you do or you type in there. So it's very easy, I think, for these apps to manipulate, things you've talked about. Oh, grandma, you keep mentioning grandma. Well, now suddenly grandma's coming through on the app,
Yep. The only thing I would trust on the phone is really using like a voice recorder app, maybe, or using your video recorder. That's about it.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
I must say, you guys, after speaking with you guys for a little while here today, I really appreciate the fact that you're straight shooters and you're not sitting here saying, yeah, we've seen this, we've seen that. And I really like the fact that when you go out into investigation, especially to help the people that you first, what I caught on early on today was the fact you always look to debunk things first versus just saying, oh, yeah, Miss Jones, you have a haunted residence, and scaring them. And you're just saying that maybe just to give them a scare or a thrill. I like the fact that you guys have come across as honest, and you're going to tell them like you see it. If you see nothing, you don't see anything. And if you do, you further investigate, as you said, and run more testing, run more equipment to ascertain what's happening. So that's I like that. I like that from you guys.
Yeah. The thing about it is, like, a lot of people expect, stuff like what the Warrens were doing back in the 60s and 70s. they would go to people's houses and say, hey, I have a feeling about your house, and your house is haunted. You need us to do something about it for you. You know, we're not about it. We're not we're not ghost busters, you know.
Right.
we're not going to offer to catch this ghost for you, or, you know, perform a ritual cleansing on your house or anything like that. Although we do, you know, sometimes we do a little bit of smudging, you know, throwing in the salt and a little stuff like that.
Sure. Yep. There's
yeah, we try to be real ethical in how we do stuff. I mean, we're professionals at work. We want to be professionals at our other job.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell everybody too, like, you know, your reputation is everything. So, you know, like, and people think, you know, ghosts, you know, going out and doing these things, you know, it's just active. You know, that's what TV portrays, but that's not reality. You know,
no, you'll be there for about 5-6 hours at dead silence.
The biggest thing about ghost hunting is 99% of the time you find absolutely nothing. But that 1% of the time where you actually find something, you know, that's what we do this for. It's one of those things where, you know, it's like playing the lottery. You play the lottery because you hope to win, and when you finally do win, that's what you savor.
Right. And the thing too, you know, sometimes certain locations, you know, like I said, you know, the Ray County Museum is kind of our home base. Sometimes I go there and it's super crazy active, and other times hardly nothing happens, you know. So that's one of the things you can't guarantee, or you can't say, oh, you know. So you might go to someone's house and investigate and nothing happened. So, you know, I feel like sometimes you have to go back a couple times, if nothing like that, you know, just to validate.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you can't make them do what they don't want to do, and you don't know under what kind of circumstances that they present themselves either.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't like we was talking about residual hauntings earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if you're dealing with a residual haunting, an intelligent haunting, or even maybe like a poltergeist case. So, I mean, it's just a lot of factor in, and just to go into some place and say, hey, yeah, you got something just because it's doing this, that's not right.
Yeah, and we don't have the time or the equipment to do, you know, like multi-day investigations and stuff like that. Most of the stuff we do is over the course of one night, and, you know, maybe we'll come back a few days later, a week later, and do a second session overnight.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, in order to really, you know, get a real good grasp of what's going on in the location, you need lots and lots of data over a very long time.
Absolutely. What do you guys think? You mentioned earlier about being scratched. So my thoughts on being scratched, and I've talked about this before on shows, that it may not always be a negative type thing. What if they're just trying to get your attention, and that was the only way they could do it? You know, what do you guys think all scratches are negative, or what are your thoughts about it?
Well, I think in my case that it was payback for me talking garbage.
Because you were talking smack.
I was talking a lot of smack. But I think a lot of stuff, a lot of times that the stuff that people report is just them trying to get attention.
Right.
Like you're saying, it's like I've been on one case where I keep in constant contact with the person, the individual, all the time, and it'll be like days like maybe it's raining outside, and then she'll be like, "Well, hey, I got this funny feeling, and I'm starting to hear like this door at the end of my hallway shaking," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "It's just probably trying to get your attention." So like a few days later, I go over there, do an EVP session, and me and her sitting there, and she's first thing that came out of her mouth, she said, was that you throwing a little tantrum? And then we caught an EVP that said, I just touched the doorknob.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
Wow.
So, I mean, I think we was talking a minute ago about not being able to make them do stuff on the command. This is the same house. This is like my fallback place. If I ever just want to go investigate, I've got permission from the owner or whatever. I'd been over there like one time before, and then the next time I went back over there after I like listened to all video and audio, it was like I heard it commenting on stuff that me and the person was talking about, but never really answering any of the questions that we was asking. And I mentioned that before we even got started. And while we're recording, and we caught the thing with the doorknob, but a few minutes later, after I said something about them not speaking or not answering our question, I call it, yeah, too fast. We just wanted to know you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
Yeah, I think it's, like I said, it's all conditional. They do stuff to get attention. They want people to know that they're there. They might want you to do something. They might not like something that you've done.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I agree with you guys. What do you guys think about, like, I know you guys had talked about the equipment, you're not big on it. And I too, very rarely do I use equipment. However, I do like, Brandy and I, we do like the Estes method and things like that. We like doing that. So of course, you have to have a ghost box or something going. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, normally when we first go to investigate a case, the bare bones stuff that we take with us is maybe a K2 meter, a voice recorder, and a video recorder. And if there's anything that we feel, has merit for further investigation, then we start bringing in other stuff like your ghost box or your spirit box or your
thermal cameras,
the SLS and stuff like that. Really the best investigative tool, like I've said before, is your own body, because you can feel differences in pressure, electromagnetic fields, temperature, stuff like that. But some of the stuff that they have out nowadays is pretty useful. We do use spirit boxes. We have done the Estes method quite a few times, and we showcase it a lot at Blakely when we do the joint investigations. And the last time we were at Blakely, we actually had quite a crazy interaction with the Estes method. So there was.
Can we talk about it?
Yeah, we can talk about it. There was actually a group of people there that it was a family. I believe it was a young man and his girlfriend and his parents, and they were there at the investigation with maybe about 50 other people, split into different groups. And when we were doing the Estes method, with the Estes method, if we want to explain it to everybody, is when you take the spirit box and put headphones on and blindfold yourself, so you have no idea what the person asking the questions is saying. So all you're doing is repeating back what you hear out of the spirit box, which is just cycling through, radio stations and stuff like that. So if you can actually get a hold of some sort of entity that is trying to speak to the spirit box, you can have a whole conversation of questions and answers without the person that is blindfolded with the headphones on even being able to interact with the person that's asking the questions. Now, with that being said, we had a couple of little things with spirits that may or may not have been Civil War era. But when the man's girlfriend actually wanted to try it out, and she had never done it before, so she just put the headphones on, put the blindfold on. Somehow or another, they supposedly were able to get in contact with her boyfriend's deceased older brother. And her boyfriend literally had a whole conversation with his brother through her. And there was a lot of question, answer, a lot of intelligently designed responses. And she couldn't hear a word of it. And a lot of times you'll notice, and this happened with the people that were doing the spirit box that night, when the person that has the headphones on and the blindfold on starts, listening to the spirit box, they kind of go into a trance. Mm-hmm. And they're really, they almost sound robotic sometimes when they're giving the responses. And when they come out of it, a lot of times they really don't remember what they said.
Yeah, that's true.
And we caught, I'm pretty sure the Ghost Hunting Housewives have all the video recordings of all this. And it was just a very strange experience, and I'm pretty sure the family was real shaken up about it, but they were happy at the same time that they were able to interact with the family member that had passed.
Sure, absolutely.
I'll have to admit something to you guys. I'm going to do something for the very first time in September. As Krista and Brandy both know, I'm kind of a fraidy cat when it comes to the paranormal and ghosts. Only because, though, I've seen a lot of ghosts. I've had a lot of paranormal events. Crazy things have happened to me from 5 to current present day 2025. Okay. None of them are scary, but just so weird. Although I've had some, I think, nefarious activity. I've seen the shadow people. I've had haunted objects that I brought home that were tainted. That have just blew my mind. But I'm going to do something, and I want your take on this if you're familiar with this. I am going to volunteer when we go on our ghost investigation. I'm going to sport and try the God's helmet for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Yeah, and I'm going to do it. My buddy Paranormal Paul did it reluctantly because I talked him into it on a live broadcast with the Blondes and the Booze a couple months ago, which was fabulous, by the way. And Paul, I said, come on, dude. He's like, okay, Rob. So he does it. I'm not going to get into that. It was an emotional thing. It was very enlightening, and Paul walked away with a great experience.
Not everybody does, though.
Not everybody does. Now, good old BMR has had experiences with good ghosts and bad ghosts, I must say. But I'm going to tackle that challenge. So with that being said, have you guys ever experimented with it on any investigations or used it with friends or at a person's house?
We've never had the pleasure of using a God's helmet yet.
The God's helmet name itself kind of strikes me as wow.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a whole lot of them out there, Rob.
Well, you guys made your own, right? Didn't you guys create your own?
We did. Katie Stafford is a friend, and he made this one, and that our friend Terry bought from him. So it's Terry's that we use.
Proprietary design, it's not something that the plans are just out there, But it's a very strange device because from what I know about it, it basically amplifies your latent psychic energy and kind of turns you into an antenna for a lot of things.
Oh.
Yeah, it's true. It opens up your senses, because it does kind of put you almost in a meditative state. I personally won't use it. I've never wore it. I'll watch people do it, but I have no desire to use it.
Well, I am going to use it. I'm going to do it. And, though we've had several friends, well, a couple that I know off the top of my head that have the weirdest experiences. And some have seen actual people standing next to people. They've seen alien figures. They assume we're alien. It just seems like it's a bizarre, like you're on some trip, natural trip, I should say.
Yeah, as far as the God's helmet, the way I would probably want to use it is kind of in an Estes method style.
Okay.
Where you're basically blindfolded and you have the God's helmet on. You kind of use yourself as a conduit to kind of speak through the person to whatever you're trying to communicate with.
Yeah. That'd be cool. There's a question. You got several questions here. One of them, my partner Brandy asked, she said, what equipment do you guys get the best results with when you do use equipment?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to do. As far as kind of, tracking down, initial traces of what could be around, a K2 is really indispensable as far as doing your initial sweeps.
K2 or millimeter.
Right. Millimeter is a little more advanced, but as far as communicating with any possible entities, I've found that the mini mag flashlights are some of the best things we've used to interact with entities.
Mm-hmm. Do you use the kind that are the touch kind, or you got to push the button? Or
the kind we use are the kind where you have to twist on and twist off. And the way it kind of works is you set it up on a table or a bed or wherever you're going to have it, and you have it set to where it's off, but it's just on the cusp of being on. So if you just give it a light tap, it'll turn on and turn off. You know, it's very sensitive at that point. And then you just
see that's why I don't use them, because I've seen too many times where, so we have flashlights, but we use the touch ones where actual entity has to touch it for it to turn on. So the mag lights, I've seen that used a lot. I've seen where they can work. However, I've seen where like a table gets bumped and people didn't realize, and it comes on while you're asking a question. So just my own personal opinion, I feel like you could get too many false positives with screwing the ends off.
That's why you have to be really controlled about it. You know, you can't be using it while you have people stomping around the house and stuff like that. Everything needs to be calm, quiet, and still. You know, it especially works better when you have a very solid foundation that you're setting.
Absolutely.
But we've had a lot of success with it as far as communicating, because you can actually, you know, narrow it down to blinking once for yes, blinking twice for no. Can you turn it on? It turns on. Can you turn it off? It'll turn off. You know, if you're actually communicating with something. And you know, when we've stopped talking to things, you know, we'll just leave it and go in another room. It never turns back on. You go back in there and ask another question, boom, you know, it blinks on.
Very cool.
I know my go-to is normally like an audio recorder or a video camera.
Oh yeah, Josh is the EVP master. You know, whenever we get done with investigation, he spends hours and hours going through all our audio and video with his headset on, turned all the way up, just, you know, listening to every little crackle.
Cool.
Because there's a lot of stuff you can miss that are, you know, little whispers that you can't really hear.
Sure. Yep.
Brandy is joining us a little later. I'm just going to ask you guys this for Brandy again. I know we got a couple other questions.
Brandy should just hop on and ask her own questions.
Yeah, really. You know, Brandy. You know,
come on, Brandy.
Brandy's the one we were telling. She travels the world.
She goes
Brandy asks, "What's the largest investigation you've ever done?"
Well, I would say the largest investigation we've done so far would be the joint investigations we've done in the public with ghost hunting housewives and a couple other people at Blakely. Because other than that, the locations we've gone to are pretty isolated as far as being single family houses, or, you know, as far as the Malaga Inn, it would be just, you know, just the one hotel room, or maybe a specific area in the Malaga Inn. You know, we've done bits and portions of Blakely State Park where, you know, we've kind of had to isolate things to different areas. We can't really, you know, get the entire, you know, park, but, you know, we haven't really done large locations yet. We'd like to.
Yep.
Thank you, Dev, for that awesome super chat, and also really quickly.
What's up, Devin?
Hey, Devin.
And we also have, since we're at it, and Joe 2 Pops also with an awesome super chat tonight. Donations are always appreciated. You guys never expected. If you are new, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, and of course, Mobile Area Paranormal Society. You can find them on YouTube, and I do have all of their links in the description of this show. So I guess
Dev has some question here.
Yeah, go. I know. You know. I know. Krista, take over. Go ahead.
You're good. You go right ahead.
Dev has a question. Hi, Dev. Thanks once again. Thanks everybody for coming on. Hit that like button. Hit it. Smash it. Pound it.
Well,
what's your dream investigation location, dudes?
Mine is actually probably up the road, probably about maybe 15, 16 miles. Is Searcy State Hospital.
Yeah, you took mine.
Everybody in the state of Alabama wants to get into Searcy State Hospital.
Yeah, it was a mental hospital back in the day. They closed it about maybe 15, going on 20 years ago.
and the state owns it, and they don't give permission for anybody to go up there because the condition that all the buildings are in.
It's actually where Geronimo was housed
at one point in time.
Wow, very cool. Very cool.
There's a lot of history, a lot of good and bad psychic energy in that place.
Yeah, which I've actually, some of our coworkers actually used to work there while it was open, and they've told us stories that stuff that they personally have seen while they were working there, and some of the stuff that their coworkers seen. So that's like on everybody's list. So if anybody ever gets in there, we want to tag along, please.
Yeah, I've even had the pleasure of talking to some inmates that were former residents of Cersei, and they talked about crazy stuff that they've seen going on. So it's pretty much everybody that stepped foot in that place has seen something.
Very cool. I think so.
I know.
What about you, Krista? Because he was asking.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Devin was asking both of us and Krista. So, Krista, what's yours? Your dream?
I would say I've never been to Estes Park there in Colorado, the Stanley.
Okay.
I'd like to see that. I heard that they have ghost fish and a fish tank. I'd like to see what a ghost fish looks like. Yeah.
Well, you know, Krista, I did a show on the Estes Park, the Bigfoot apparition.
Yep.
Did you remember that one?
I do. Yep. Which is in that area.
Yes. Well, yeah. Yes. Certainly close by.
Right. Absolutely. So that would be where I'd want to go.
Okay.
We do have a couple more questions from our audience, but I did want to ask. So everybody's gung ho to find paranormal ghosts, and we do a lot of cryptid work ourselves, and we have a lot of guests on in the cryptid field. Some of these folks, Josh, want to so badly see a ghost or find out what's going on in their property or see a Bigfoot. And I believe I can do this. The girls can attest to that. Do you think there's certain people, though, they have that third eye where they can actually manifest something, and actually what they're seeing isn't really what they're manifesting? Perhaps you want to see a Bigfoot and something presents itself as something else. Do you think that perhaps that's a nefarious entity, or even we go as far as say a demon? That's like the trickster, as they call it. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, from stuff that I've seen over the years and research I've done, you know, there's a lot to say about the human mind as far as what we can see and hear and taste and touch, because all our five senses are tied to, you know, how our brain interprets how we interact with the outside world. And in a lot of different cultures, you have entities that are purely made from people's willpower or psychic energy or what have you. And I'm sure you're familiar with tulpas. So,
yes,
you know, I kind of believe that in a sense there is a chance that if somebody wants to see something hard enough, or there's a large group of people that they want to see something hard enough, then, you know, they may be able to manifest it in some sort of way.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much all parapsychology is everything that he just described. If you ever get a chance to listen to on YouTube, it's Professor Paranormal. His name is Lloyd Auerbach. He is one of the best well-known parapsychologists in the United States. He was actually my teacher when I was taking classes at the Ryan Research Center, and he delves a lot into that kind of topic. So, I mean, if you're like really interested, like with the consciousness part about it, the power of the mind and stuff, he'd be somebody to listen to.
Yeah, and it's also something that's like, it can be a positive or a negative, because, you know, when people talk about psyching themselves out and you know, kind of scaring themselves when they go in to try to do an investigation, you know, you would be able to see something, or you might, you know, something might happen to you that you kind of made up in your own mind that kind of scares you out of doing that.
So what do you guys see for yourselves going down the road? Are you going to expand your mobile area paranormal society? I know you're going to keep it to Alabama. What's your future goals look like? Do you want to dabble into getting a bigger client base, or it just what do you for yourselves personally? What do you want to gain out of all this moving forward?
Well, I think like we'll pretty much cover the Gulf Coast. Like right now, we'll go to Mississippi. We've been to Mississippi, Florida, Louisiana. I just hope that we can expand a little bit, maybe network with some folks. I love investigating with other people.
Mm-hmm.
That is so much fun. You get to learn other people's techniques, how they operate. I love going with Carol and Crystal. I love going with Sean Daniels. And there's a lot of other folks that we talk to that we really want to get a chance to work with. So,
no two groups investigate the exact same way.
It's great because everybody has different theories, ideas, how they investigate, how they research, what their thought process is. And you did mention Carol and of course Crystal. I got to give a shout out to them. They were supposed to be on tonight, and something came up as they're going to be rescheduled for summertime. So they were cool enough to send me your information to get you guys on the last minute. So I do appreciate them, and I appreciate you guys for coming on. So that's awesome. That's what teamwork's all about. So the Ghost Hunting Housewives, go check them out as well. They set me up with this interview last minute. So thank you. And thank you for you two guys. And Krista, was there a couple more questions before we get ready to wrap this up for these guys?
There is. Riley Ron asked, have you guys ever been followed home by some sort of an entity?
I have, but it wasn't from the investigation. It was from New Orleans. So going over there and picking up some probably stuff I didn't have no business picking up and bringing it back home.
Yeah, you should never do that.
No, I agree.
I like to have like at least a little souvenir of places that we've been. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of the sauce furnaces up in Birmingham, Alabama. I brought stuff back from there. But pretty much I done got to the point now, if I'm bringing something home, I'm definitely going to go around and do a blessing around my place.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Riley Ron asked another question. He said, is there a chance that sometimes people are hallucinating?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a good chance of that, especially when you're investigating in the dark, because if you ever had an experience or read about deprivation chambers.
Sure.
The thing about it is when your mind does not have the input that it needs to, generate an understanding of your surroundings, it will start to fill those spaces in with, stuff it makes up. It's kind of like having blind spots in your field of vision, or if you have tinnitus.
Auditory. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got you got mental health too.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
You have to really be careful, like when you're.
I'm going to put you on speakerphone. I'll put you on speakerphone, and you can hear the show. Okay. So hold on. This is Rob. He lost us. So.
Okay.
Rob, can you hear? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
we hear you.
Whenever we do residential investigations and stuff, our safety and the safety of whoever we're helping is like first and foremost. I don't want to take like somebody from my team into a place not knowing like, hey, this person may be mentally ill, may have like some kind of tendency to be violent.
Sure.
And that's why you don't want to feed into those kind of like situations either. You don't want to feed into the delusion, because you're actually going to make it that much worse.
Yeah, when people come to us about residential stuff, or ask us about stuff going on in their house, we do a certain level of investigation or research, and we do a certain level of vetting with those people to make sure everything's in order first.
Absolutely. One more question. D Truth asks, do you feel there is a link between cryptids and spirit entities?
I think it's possible.
There can be, yeah. There's a lot of crossover.
Well, like I've seen, or maybe even being like maybe a dimensional type being, because I've seen like situations where like maybe something would be walking through the woods and then all of a sudden it's just not there when it passes behind a tree.
Yeah.
So I think there's a big possibility.
Now, especially if you look into cryptids that are of, different cultures and stuff like that, because the cryptids of, let's say, Japan, a lot of them are spiritual entities first and foremost.
Right.
But they present themselves as weird looking, strange, physical manifestations.
Sure. Absolutely.
That we would call cryptids.
Yeah, and I feel like once you're open to one thing, you're open to it, opens you up to other doorways, being like cryptids. I started out with doing the paranormal. Now I've seen weird like things out in the woods I can't explain, So, and I've even seen UFO, and I'd never thought that they were all, somehow together, but I believe that now. I truly do. So
and I mean, it's kind of a trifecta between the spiritual cryptids and UFO type stuff. Especially when you consider Native American religion, because they have a very spiritual aspect of their culture. But if you look into the legends of their spiritual practices and stuff like that, they talk about people from the stars that came down, basically spacemen that interacted with their people.
Right. Welcome back, Rob.
Yeah, that's been my day for 8 hours. Brandy, I have the same problems you do. I'm getting new internet Friday. I got
Brandy
new internet today. It's the worst thing I ever did, Brandy. My entire house is wireless. Bad mistake.
Yeah, wired is the way to go.
Yep.
I'm directly routed in, but this service I got is for crap. I'm not going to say who they are, but they suck.
They're awful.
I should get you in touch with the guy that installed my fiber. I got
I need the fiber. Well, where I live in our infrastructure here blows. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, I mean, up until they laid fiber in my neighborhood, I only had 25.5. That was.
Dude, I'm running 1 gig right now though, and which is.
I am too now.
Yeah, but it's all internet. Everything's wireless. Both my TVs, all the computers. So it just kind of sucks. But anyways, another issue I'll deal with on Friday.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of networking in my house too. Yeah, I've got to run Cat 6 cables through my house.
Yep. Well, I've asked all the questions, Rob.
Excellent. This was a great show, you guys. Thank you for with such late notice for coming on. I've been discombobulated all day, as you can tell. But it was a great show, you guys. I'm glad we had you on. Everybody listening in the chat room and listening across the world. Let me look. Well, we have 363 watching live somewhere around the United States and America and wherever else they may be. Thanks for coming on in. Everybody hit the like button on your way out. And you guys, your links are here in your description. Where can we find you once you just tell everybody in person where we can find you?
Well, most of the time we're more active on Facebook.
Okay.
And our Facebook is facebook.com/251maps.
I do have that posted in the show for you. And I do have your YouTube channel. I think you have one. I posted that as well.
Yeah. And our actual website is maps-paranormal.com. So
there is one more question somebody asked earlier, and then that was just asked again. When you guys do private cases, do you charge for those?
No,
never.
Never.
No. Yep.
No, this is really a labor.
Same, we don't either.
And, you can't really put a price on giving somebody peace of mind whether or not their place is haunted or not. So
yep, agree.
Yeah, and as I stated earlier, guys, I find you guys to be genuine and honest. You just don't, give people what they think. You shoot from the hip and you tell them straight. You don't rip them off, and I appreciate that because there's people out there you never know what they're up to, what their intentions are, and I get a good vibe from you guys. So I appreciate you guys coming on tonight.
Yep, thank you very much.
We appreciate you having us.
We appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And send Rob your contact information, because Brandy and I, we're out of Missouri, so when we do private cases, it's around Missouri, but we have people reach out to us from all over the United States. So if we get anything close, to you guys, we'll definitely send people your way.
Oh,
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
So, yep.
Very good. Thanks for a great show. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. And again, I appreciate hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to all our channels across the board. Today's Tuesday, and so Wednesday, I think Brandy's on. Does Brandy's show Truth or what's Brandy?
So Brandy's show is on tomorrow. However, I'm filling in for her tomorrow.
Okay, well, go check it out. And then Thursday,
it's actually going to be on the exorcism of the movie The Exorcist.
Ooh,
that's tomorrow night show.
Speaking of exorcists, there's an exorcist sitting in my chat room that I just met some time ago. He's going to be on the show down the road. We're talking what I love talking about, right? Demons.
Right.
We'll be doing that down the road with this guy that's in the chat room, Biff.
Very cool.
So that'd be pretty cool. And Thursday night, of course, you guys will be doing your normal gig at 9 o'clock.
Yep, Brandy and I, we have Miguel Ramirez from Sasquatch Theory. He's coming on. And then Friday night we have Haunted Souls, Frankie and Dan.
Great lineups, everybody. Subscribe to the channels and please turn on your alert bells so you get every single notification. And don't forget the Eventbrite link. The official one is in all of our YouTube pages, and whatever we do personally post on Facebook, only use those links. They're safe. They're ready to go. We had a little snafu, as Krista explained a little earlier, but no worries on that. No need to be scared. We got that straightened out. And again, with that, come on down to the conference. Go check out Josh and Josh, the Ghost Hunting Housewives. Thank you for the contact information for these two guys. With that being said, the very pissed off BMR with his internet service, not the show, the internet service, is going to bid you farewell, but not for long.
See ya.
Krista, the Joshes, we're out.
This is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks. With an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to Eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.